Okay, I'm on it. Okay, please, can you see my screen?
Yes, Yusuf, and we are recording now.
All right, thank you. So, once again, my name is Tajuddin Yusuf, and I'll be presenting on academic writing, bringing research to a wider audience. So, I realized that academic writing is the academic writing skills is one of the most essential skills that you need to possess as a researcher. Whether you are a researcher or an advocate, you need these skills, irrespective of your discipline. So this is why this topic, this is why I'll be addressing this topic today. And this, I'll be following these outlines throughout my presentation. So we're going to discuss about what academic writing is, the types of academic papers that we have, so how to create an outline, identification and use of scientific databases, the concept of paraphrasing, and how you can navigate the process of writing your academic paper. So what is academic papers, academic writing? So academic writing is just a kind of styles. It's just a kind of styles that is being used by academic researchers just to show their intellectual boundaries or either their discipline or specific area of interest. What do we mean by this? Academic writing is different from other forms of writing like creative writing. So in the sense that academic writing is pointing, is showing your specific boundaries of a particular researchers. For instance, now in creative writing, anyone can just jump into a creative writing, like write about, maybe you want to write a story about yourself. You can just say, okay, my name is so. I attended this particular school. I graduated this particular year. Or you may even talk about any current issues, any societal problems that are facing and provide a solutions to address that problem. But in academic writing, you see, academic writing is all about research. It is evidence-based. So you need to like write in a tone that, in a formal tone. For instance, in creative writing, you may use word like wow. You may use slang like GOAT, which is known as greatest of all time. I think yes, that is common these days. But when you are writing in science, you don't do that. In academic writing, you don't use those language, so it's not acceptable. So now, what are the characteristics of academic writing? So in summary, academic writing is just a kind of writing that is used by researchers, academic researchers. So what are the characteristics of academic writing? One, formal.
Pardon me for interrupting, but can you please share your slides full screen? This will be much easier for us to catch up with everything inside them.
So I think I've shared the screen. Can you? I shared the screen.
Yes, the slide itself, can you just showcase it in a full mood?
Okay, I should zoom. You mean I should zoom? Okay. Is it okay this way?
No.
Or will you
can
share
just
my screen?
make it
the presentation mode. The presentation mode, you know, the way you're showing now, we can see all the slides in the left side, you know, all the coming slide. Yes, perfect. Okay. That's it.
Is it okay this way? Is it
okay? You can click on slideshow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. It's not slideshow yet. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Now so it is.
Okay.
Now it is perfect.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry about that. So I think we can continue now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what are the characteristics of academic writing? What are those things? What are the do's and don'ts of academic writing? What are those things that you need to include in your paper to make it qualified as an academic writing? So one is the formal tone. The kind of language you use in communicating with your audience needs to be in a formal tone. So in academic writing, you can't just write using slang. You can't just write informally. Like for instance, if you are writing to a friend, you can use different kind of slang to communicate with your friend. But in academic writing, you are communicating to a larger audience. You are communicating, like you are making your research known to the world. So the kind of people that will read your papers, these are professors, doctors. So you need to like use a kind of formal tone. You can't just use slang or use any kind of expression that is informal. So the second one is use of third person perspective. What do we mean by third person perspective? You can't just write and use a first person perspective. Like I feel that, for instance, now if you are addressing the issue of climate, issue of zoonosis, and you believe that zoonosis is being driven by climate change, you can't just write in your paper and state that, in my opinion, I believe that climate change is a driver of zoonosis. No, we don't accept that in academic writing. You write, you use a third person perspective. This is how you put it. If you have a paper that you've read, you now write in this tone, according to this is also researcher, according to Mona and colleagues, climate change has been reported to be a driver of zoonosis. The author has stated, the author revealed in their research that climate change is an important driver of zoonosis. So you use the third person perspective. You won't give us a kind of expression that I feel that climate change is an important driver of, or in my opinion. No, we don't accept that in academic writing. So another important point is clarity of research focus. If you are writing academic papers, you need to state your research focus clearly. For instance, if you want to, if you are carrying out a research on climate change, that should show in your abstract. You should state, you should clarify it in the abstract of your paper. You should even clarify this in the introductory part of your paper. Okay, the aim of this research is to investigate the impact of climate change on zoonosis. The purpose and the aim of this research is to investigate the deforestation as an important driver of zoonosis. So you need to clarify your research focus. This is why those people that are reading your paper will have a view of where you are taking them to. So another one is simplicity in language of communication. When you are writing academic papers, you just don't bombard people with undefined terms and undefined synonyms. Like for instance, if you are writing academic papers and you are using DNA, which is deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA means ribonucleic acid. So if you are going to use that in your paper, you need to define that. You need to state the meaning. Don't just assume that people reading your paper understand this or know the meaning of this. So evidence-based. So evidence-based means that you need to reference your papers. You need to cite your papers so as to avoid any issue of plagiarism. So you need to paraphrase, then you need to reference the person, the work of any researchers that you are citing. Like it is evidence-based. You can't just come up with a point, or you can't just state a particular reason without referencing it. For instance, if you write, for instance, that okay, zoonosis account for 2 millions of deaths and millions of deaths and mortality rates per year. You know, you are giving us a statistics, so you need to reference that. Who are those that conducted that research to have come up with that analysis? So you need to show us that. This is why academic writing is different from creative writing or any other form of writing. In other form of writing, you can just write like, okay, and climate change is driving zoonosis, yes, and this is increasing the rate of disease in human population. You can write that without citation. But in academic writing, we don't do that. You need to provide evidence. You need to provide a paper that has stated that already. So academic conventions. What do we mean by academic conventions? These are the styles. And then the ethics used in science TV in academic settings. So this ranges from when you the kind of ethics that you take while conducting your research, and this also involves the way you arrange your papers. Let's assume the headings, the subheadings, how you write your title, the keywords you use, you understand, and the how you conduct your research, the ethics involved. So you need to state everything. So those are the academic conventions, and you need to follow that. So what are the types of what are the kind of types of academic articles that we have? So the first is letters to editor. So letters to editors are just short form of writing to an editor of a journal about a particular trending topic. For instance, monkeypox epidemics in non-endemic countries is what everybody knows. So it's a current topic and it's trending. So you can, if you have anything to add, if you have any opinion or your view about what is happening, you can just write it to an editor. Letters to the editor is very short, usually 500 to 1,000, though it depends on the journal type, but it is a very short and a very short insightful write-up. So you go straight to the point. Letters to editors, you don't write abstract for it, and you don't structure letters to editors. So it's the same thing as correspondence. So the other one is short communication. So short communication is a kind of papers that you write to show a new findings. If you conduct a research and you are able to get a new findings about maybe a particular topic of interest or any trending issues, any particular societal or public health threat. So you write a short communications. It's usually an original research, though some journals usually consider a kind of maybe your view about a particular issues. So, but short communication usually involve a very short abstract, and it always shows a new findings. So it is always very short, about 1,005 to 2,000. So case reports. This is usually commentary is different from short communications in the sense that in commentary you are actually providing a comment on a previously published paper. If a paper is published in a journal and you felt like you need to provide an additional information regarding this particular article, so this is why you write a commentary. Commentary is also very short, within the word count 1,000 to 1,500. So when you are writing a commentary, you write in response to a particular paper published in a particular journal. So for case reports, this is usually applicable to those who are working in the clinical settings. So when you are working in the clinical settings and you notice a particular disease, maybe you discover a novel findings. For instance, you are working on malaria and you discover a novel findings about malaria. Probably you are working on malaria vaccine and you discover a novel findings. So you can write a case report. Or maybe you are working on a patient. Rather, let me use this. If you are working on a patient and you discover a new disease in a patient, so you are going to write that as case report. So you report that okay, this particular you are going to obtain a consent from the patient, probably to publish the picture of that patient. So this is exactly what happened regarding the transmission of monkeypox from humans to humans and dog in non-endemic countries. I don't really remember that country. So you are going to, so as a case reporter, maybe as a clinician, so you are going to report that. So it's a case. So you are going to report that. You are going to take pictures of what exactly happened, how you conduct, how you discovered this particular issue. So you are going to publish it. So that's a case report. So perspective and viewpoint is also perspective and viewpoint are always the long narratives. So if you are providing a viewpoint or perspective on any issues that is happening, maybe a public health threat. So you write a perspective and you have a particular opinion about the issue. So you can write a perspective. So it is usually structured in a way that you include your abstract, you include your introduction, and you include you don't have to include your methodology in perspectives. So you are of viewpoints. So you just write your abstract introduction, your headings, subheadings, then conclusions and recommendation, because you are providing a perspective to a particular issue. So review papers. So review papers is also known as, the first one is narrative review, which is also known as a traditional review. So it's like providing a comprehensive understanding on a particular topic of interest. In narrative review, you are going to you consult other papers. So most especially original research. So you consult those papers and you build on what those authors has reported. For instance, if you see a research paper on arboviruses and the authors stated that biodiversity loss is an important driver of arboviruses now. So you try to check other papers as well. Then you do the literature review to provide a comprehensive understanding. If paper A reports on biodiversity loss as a driver of arboviruses, and paper B provide evidence on climate change as important driver of arboviruses. So you provide the literature review, then combine points from different authors, then you come up with a particular review. Then scoping review and systematic review. I think I'm going to take the two together. Scoping review or systematic review is a process of you conducting. Scoping review is usually used in policy making, in the sense that you consult an original research papers. So when you consult it, you consult many papers, original research papers, then you check for the findings of those papers. So you are going to analyze the findings of different papers, then you use it to then you come up with a particular result, which can be used in policy making. So systematic review is also like this, but the issue is scoping review is more broad than systematic review, and these two review usually involve meta-analysis. So you need to analyze using, particularly for systematic review, you need to follow what is known as PRISMA guidelines. So in that, you include your methodology, you include your inclusion and exclusion criteria, you tell us how you analyze your data, the kind of statistical instrument that you use, how you conduct those analyses, you understand? So that is all about that. And original research. So original research is a particular research that is conducted by you. So in that kind of research, you'll be having your abstract, you'll be having your introduction, your methodology, you'll be having your results and your conclusion. You understand? So that is all about the kind of paper that we have. So in your original research, you have your you do your literature review, you do your results and analysis, the kind of tools you use in analyzing your results. You can't just tell us, mention it, but you can't just tell us that you want to analyze results without mentioning the kind of tools you are using. Let us know the statistical tools you use in analyzing that. Then you do your discussion by comparing your findings with other studies. So if a particular study reported that there's an increase in this particular issue, and your findings reported that you find out that there's a decrease, then you try to relate that in this social study, increment in this particular issue has been reported. However, this is contrasting to my results. So you are going to compare results. So you state the limitations, the kind of limitations that you encountered, then you write your conclusion and provide recommendations. So now, how do we, so now we talk about creating an outline. So in order to write academic papers, first you need to create an outline. How do you create an outline? You need to identify a topic of interest. Have a particular topic of interest in mind. You can't just be working without identifying your topic. The first step is to identify a topic of interest. So now, if you identify your topic, you identify the relevant points that you want to discuss in your paper. So you need to identify the points that you want to make in your paper, that you want your audience to learn about. Then you now organize these points in a logical and numerical order to reflect your proposed topic. For instance, if you are working on climate change, and you are working on you want to work on climate change and One Health. One Health deals with humans, animals, and the environment. So now, if you are going to arrange this, you are going to tell us about what climate change is. That will be the first. So you need to state that in your introduction. So you can't just start with something that is not relevant. You can't just come up and be telling us that the COP27 that is coming up in, you need to make it arranged in a logical and numerical order. You can't start with the climate change is affecting the animal health. You finish that. You now write climate change is affecting the human health. Instead of you to follow it with environmental health, so you put up another topic there. So no, you need to arrange everything in a sequence order logically so that everything will connect and your readers will be able to understand you. So you need to connect. The next step is to connect your point through transition between paragraphs. So use transition word like between, especially if you are comparing 2 to 3 words. Okay, why climate change? You use word like why. You use word like between. If you are comparing between human, animal, and environmental health, you can use word like, okay, climate change has been reported to affect human health, while it has been reported to affect animal and environmental health in a minimal way. So you use transition words like why, between, therefore, and as a result. So now, why do we create an outline? It allows for easy flow of thoughts and which topic to cover in what order. So it also allows for easy understanding of your ideas by readers. So moving forward, the next thing to learn is identification and use of scientific database. In order to write, before writing, you need to identify a scientific database. After formulating your outline, you need to identify your scientific database. Scientific databases are where results of the data obtained from series of experiments, analytical tools, and computations and instruments are stored. So this is where you can get scientific articles. So these databases are where scientific data are stored. So you visit there to get this data in form of downloaded articles, in form of abstracts, in form of videos, so even conference papers. So you go to these databases. Example of them are we have the PubMed, we have the Doage, we have the Google Scholar. I think everyone knows about that Google Scholar. So you go there, you check for articles instead of you doing rapid online search. So you can just go to these databases. You find relevant articles, good articles, not predatory ones. So you need to be careful of doing constant online search. You just go to the databases and get quality articles that is relevant for your papers. So then you can now, so that is all about databases. So So the next is concept of paraphrasing after getting your articles from those relevant databases. So the next thing is paraphrase. So what is paraphrasing? According to Cambridge Online Dictionary, paraphrasing is the act of stating something spoken or written in different words without changing its meaning. So you have to state what other authors have stated or what other authors have written in your own word without changing its meaning. For instance, if you need to paraphrase, change other author's word, then write it in your own word in such a way that people will understand that you are saying exactly the same thing. For instance, if I said biodiversity loss is an important driver of zoonosis, okay, if I say biodiversity loss drives zoonosis, so you may rephrase like biodiversity loss has been reported to be an important factor facilitating the spread of zoonosis. It is the same thing. We are still talking about biodiversity being a driver of zoonosis. So you just have to rephrase in your own word. It is, you can see how I rephrase. So that is how to do that. So is it a must to paraphrase? You must paraphrase. In academic writing, you must paraphrase, because if you try to copy and paste other authors' work word to word without paraphrasing, it's plagiarism. And plagiarism is a big offense in academia, which is capable of damaging one's reputation forever. Because if you plagiarize a paper and you publish it in a journal, that will be archived. That will be forever in the journal archive. It will be there. So the paper will be retracted, but it will, your name and the file would be forever in the journal's archive. And then that way you damage your academic reputation. So it is a big offense in academia. So we don't plagiarize. So now, when you are done paraphrasing, then you are now ready to write your papers. So first you write. So the second step after writing, while you write, you cite. You are going to provide a reference to where you get your resources from, where you are getting your information from. You need to cite it. So how do we cite? What are the key elements of references? So we have the author's name. You need to include the author's name, the title of the article, you need to include it. The name of the journal, you need to include it. So the year of publication, accessibility date, the volume, page number, the DOI link, where people can access that paper, you need to provide it. And the address for internet sources. Let's assume you are not using journal alone, you get information from the web. You can as well provide the internet, the address of that internet, so that people can visit it and confirm that the information you are stating is a genuine one. So we have different referencing styles, which is used in academic writing. The first is APA. So the APA is normally used in social sciences, so psychology, education. So that is where APA referencing style is used. So you have the in-test citation, you have the end of test. So there's a way to write this. We have the Vancouver, the MLA, the Harvard style, the Chicago style, the IEE. So depending on the journal requirement and the kind of the type of referencing style that the journal that you are submitting your paper to, or your supervisor is requesting for, the kind of referencing style is requesting for, is what you are going to format your paper to. It is very important to adhere strictly with the referencing style of a journal, or a referencing style that your supervisor recommends for you. So every journal has its own referencing style, and the onus lies on you to conform to the referencing style stated by the journal you are submitting to. So because this is to avoid desk rejection, if you format your manuscript without adhering sorry about that. If you format your academic paper without adhering strictly to the journal referencing style, then you are actually subjecting your paper to desk rejection. What do we mean by desk rejection? You submit it and the editor evaluates it and see that, oh, this particular author is not adhering to the journal formatting style, then it will just be rejected straight. In 5 to 10 minutes, the paper will be rejected. So what are the referencing systems that we have? We have the in-test and the end-of-test citation. There are some people, so you need to cite your paper in test. You need to cite the paper that you get your information from in test and then provide the detailed referencing in the end of test. So some journals also recommend the use of footnotes. So whereby each referencing style would be in a particular page, but that is usually common in, I think some journal use it and it's very common in books. So, but mainly for academic writing, you need to provide your in-test citation in brief, then end of test citation, you need to expatiate that. So I think, so now, writing academic, so after doing that, you need to revise your manuscript, then proofread and edit. So while revising your manuscript, you need to send it to people to check for you. Like you can't see all the error, it's impossible. So when you write, when you finish your draft, just close that particular draft and forget about it for like 2 days. Visit it again, and then you see that there are some edits that you need to make. So when you are proofreading again, then you realize that, okay, I need to reword like this. I need to change this particular sentence so that people will be able to understand the message I'm passing. So you need to revise and revise and revise. Send it to people in your field. Don't send it to people outside your field because that particular person may not have idea of the information that you are passing. So you revise and revise and revise. Send to peers to review for you, colleagues, and even your supervisors. So you let them check it and revise. So after doing that, then you make sure you format everything in line with the journal requirement, then you press the submit button. So you await reviewers' response. So I think with this brings us to the end of academic writing. So thanks so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Yusuf, for this very comprehensive and professional way of tackling this issue of academic writing, paraphrasing, plagiarism, reference writing, and up to the submission phase. So now it's the question time. Please, if you have any questions, just raise your virtual hands and we will take your questions in the order.
So I have one question.
Okay.
Yusuf, is more like about the administrative part, like how do you organize your academic writing within your practical life and work and everything? Do you have a tip on that?
Okay, so the question is, sorry, please, the question is how to arrange.
Yeah, it's not about the scientific writing itself, but it's about how do you organize your day, how to you introduce the academic writing, which is a deep work within your daily activities like work, home, social life. I mean, do you have any tip on that?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Yes, I actually answered a related question earlier today. So people usually find it difficult to organize, maybe to schedule their academic writing with their day-to-day activities. But one important thing to note is it's all about time management. Yes, if you dedicate like maybe you may consider dedicating like 2 days for academic writing. So you just dedicate a time for yourself. Okay, this particular time, from this particular time to this particular time, I want to be completing this task. So I know it's not easy combining writing with work, but it has to do with dedication and time management. So you know the time that works well for you, and when you are less busy, so you make sure that you schedule your timetable, that you are committing yourself to writing, maybe like 2 days or 3 days a week, and then I think that will be fine.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for your question. And I can see Habibullah's hands raised. So, Habibullah.
Okay, thank you so much, Yusuf, for that wonderful presentation and insightful session on academic writing. My question is, you mentioned something about, you mentioned abstract during your course of presentation, and I want to ask, which time is the best to write abstract? Is it before you start writing or after you finish writing? And that's the first thing. And the secondly, it's known that probably maybe abstract is always difficult to create sometimes. How do you express yourself when you're writing abstract? Is it more or less like when I have an idea or when I have a thought in my head and I want to put it together quickly? How do I go about it? So those are my two questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Bibulai, for that wonderful question. So, to write abstracts, actually, I would answer this question this way. So, if you want to write your abstract, it's all about, some people actually recommend that it is after you are done with the whole manuscript, then you now come up with an abstract. But I think this is applicable to this is usually applicable to original research, and yes, original research, because to me, whenever I always write my abstracts at the beginning of my paper. So this will give me a step-to-step approach on how to write the whole manuscript. So it's, abstract is more like the summary of is just the summary of the whole paper. So when you now so people usually write it at the end, but the reason why they write abstract at the end is when you conclude maybe for instance now, when you conclude your paper, you may want to add some information that will reflect in the abstract. But when you are writing like a kind of narrative review, now you already have the idea of what you are writing on, and you know where the topics will end. You know that you have your outlines already and everything is set. So it's better for you to write the abstracts at the beginning of narrative review. But when you are doing original research that involve, you don't have your results yet, you don't have anything yet. So it's better for you to complete the whole thing, have your results, your discussion, recommendation, and everything before coming up with an abstract. But for narrative review, for short communications, and short communications too, you may consider writing your abstract at the end of the research. But academic writings, research that doesn't involve original findings, you may consider writing your abstract at the beginning. So that will give you a clear picture of what you want to write on. So, and then if it's even a collaborative work, you can just share the abstract with peers and they will have the idea of where you are going and what you are writing on. So I think that answers the number one question. So number two questions, how to write your abstract. So you can just write your abstract by developing your point around your outline. So you have your outline already. This is what I want to address. These are the issues that I want to include in this particular paper. So you make sure your point revolves around that outline, and then you are good to go.
Thank you so much, Yusuf. And also, I have a question regarding the abstract and the Prisma framework, which applies to the original research. So I hope you can just shed light on that Prisma issue, and then we can have the question of Joe.
Okay, yes. Prisma is actually applicable to scoping review and systematic review. So it's not applicable to original research, and it's not applicable to narrative review. So Prisma is more like I said earlier, that scoping review involves policy, those papers are used in policy making. So and it involved you analyzing different results from different original paper, then showing us the kind of statistical tools that you use in analyzing your results. So when you combine a result from a particular study A that shows, for instance, that shows a positive, maybe positive result from A and a negative result from B. So you are now having another positive result from C. So your analysis of different kind of findings is what that we show us we show us a concrete result. So you come up with you arrive at a particular conclusion, maybe a positive conclusion or a negative conclusion. So that particular conclusion will be used in policy making, because it is a scoping review. It is always broad. You make use of statistical tools. So you also make use of Prisma. So Prisma is actually a particular guidelines that are usually for scoping and systematic review. So you need to show us you need to identify the protocols of your research, the bias, the inclusion criteria, the exclusion criteria, how you extract your data. And so I'm sorry, I don't have the chart for Prisma. I would have shown it here so that you can see it clearly. But for a subsequent presentation, I think I'll be able to include it in my PowerPoint so that you can see it.
Thank you so much, Yusuf. And even we can share it on email or on our group. So thank you so much for the clarification. And now we can hear from Joe.
Thank you so much, Yusuf, for this brilliant presentation. I'm so excited to be part of this presentation today. I have two questions. And number one is, how long do you edit your research paper? Because you talk about at least 2 days. Can we go beyond 2 days? That's one. And then two, you talk about the simplicity of the language in your research paper. Can you further elaborate on talk about simplicity in your language? Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for that wonderful question, Joy. So regarding edit, so you can edit for you can edit for as long as you want. Just to make sure that you send it to people. For instance, now you can send your paper to at least 3 experts in your field. So this is after you are done with your own edit, with your own review. So when you send it to those people, so probably maybe so we do review for research and we do edit for language. So if you ask them to review, during the process of reviewing it, some supervisors or some peers, they always consider reviewing a manuscript alongside the English edit. But if you are not a native, if you are a non-native speaker, so you can just send it to an English editor. So an English editor will help you in editing the manuscript. Then after that, you can just you can submit it. So that is all about editing. And the second question regarding the simplicity. So simplicity means that you need to make sure that your information is comprehensible, like people get to understand you. For instance, if you don't use big English, if you are to use a word like clearly, you don't use word like succinct. Like you need to ensure simplicity in the way you communicate with people. Okay, if you are, for instance, you may consider if you want to, okay, this is not about research, but for instance, you are about advocating for increase in antimicrobial resistance. So you are now telling people that the prevalence of antimicrobial resistance is very high. Instead of you to tell them that antimicrobial resistance cause 2.3 million deaths per year. I'm just giving an example. So instead of you stating that, okay, antimicrobial resistance caused about 2.3 million deaths per year, you are now saying this prevalence and mortality rate of antimicrobial resistance, you know, you are making this complicated for people. This is not about research. I'm not speaking of research, but when you are addressing people that are not in scientific setting, and you're not telling them that the mortality rate, the morbidity rate, the prevalence, and the incidence of, you know, you are complicating it for them. Speak to them in the language they understand. And this also happens to scientific writing. Not only, always remember that not only people in your field are reading your papers. There are some other people that are not even in the field, but they are interested in that particular topic. So you don't use terms that is only applicable to those in your field. So you make sure, even if you use those terms, make sure you define it at the end of your writing, so that people can actually understand. But using undefined terms in paper will make the paper complicated, like using DNA, RNA without you defining it in your paper. So that paper is devoid of simplicity. Then you are making it complicated, but because you'll be giving people the duty of them looking for the meaning of DNA, RNA, and people will even get bored and neglect that paper. So, which is why the tone, the language in your paper should be simple.
Thank you so much, Yusuf. And I can add also that the length of the sentence, it really matters that the long sentence can be fragmented, so that the number of words are no more than 10 words, and even the title, because this facilitates the recall. And also we gave some background on this numerical structure of the sentence and the title and everything you will find in Academic Writing 1, Academic Writing 2, and also there was a very nice webinar on critical statistical appraisal by Dr. Amr Mughazi, also shared before in the September calendar. So we really hope that you have any questions during this meeting, because we will assign you a task, and we really want it to be done in your full potential. And so we wonder if you have any more questions. We will keep this like 2 more minutes to just think it over. If you have any more questions regarding anything related to scientific writing. Yes, Nathan, I guess. Yes, Nathan.
Thank you, Mona, and thank you, Yusuf. So I just want to appreciate the great work that Yusuf and your team of collaborators, including Mona. I know you and Yusuf have worked together on recent publications, and I think also Habibullah might have also been a collaborator. And my question, in as few words as possible, boils down to what we can do moving forward to address what we can call the underrepresentation or the gaps in the impact that academic writing currently offers. And just a little bit more elaboration, we in previous gatherings have noted the statistics about Africa's share of the global population, and then the much smaller share of publications that come from Africans or people based within the African setting. And in the One Health or planetary health realm, we are talking very interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, even transdisciplinary language many times, but the status quo that we are operating within, with the editors of these journals and much of the audience or readership, people tend to right now like to have a narrow focus. And generally what characterizes those of us who are gathered in this space is at least some level of horizontal cross-cutting interest. And so, not to put you on the spot, Yusuf, but if you were asked to formulate a list of 3 top priorities or opportunities, whether we talk about the remainder of 2022 or in the coming year, what you would suggest to collaborators like the rest of us in this space who are interested in actually being a part of the solution and figuring out a way to solve these problems together. So interested to hear your thoughts on that question.
Okay, thank you so much for that question, Nathan. So what I felt about this whole thing, and in order to make our voice at the global scale, is academic writing is one of them. The way in which we can get our research and make our voice known to the global audience. So how do we address this? I have spoken with Dr. Mona about how to go about this. So I think those people that are really interested in research, irrespective of your field of interest, I think we always have something in common, addressing the planetary and societal threat that is affecting us today. So this is why we are in this particular initiative. This is why we are together in this initiative. So this will start by collaborating, like peering people together. Yes. For instance, if we have like 12 people interested in research, so we'll just like have a 3 people paired together, and we have a team lead that will guide them and formulate a particular topic of interest. Then we address it together. So we address this in such a way that we'll strictly adhere to the deadline and make sure we provide the needed research outputs on time. So this is what I usually do. So I have some group of students that I'm actually mentoring, and I'll just tell them to come up with a topic that they really like. So then I'll find people to work with them, those people that have the same research interest. So I'll group them together and then allocate tasks for each of them, state a particular date for them to submit, and then they should strictly adhere to that deadline. Then with that, we are good to go. So I always make sure that they adhere strictly to the deadline and they prioritize the deadline. So I think if we do this between now and the coming years, then we'll be able to achieve a productive output.
Thank you, Yusuf, and I can add on this that from our experience last year, when we initiated this traditional medicine call to action for writing it as a team, actually we received drafts from most of the members, but yet still some of them lagged behind, and that's why this has been like on hold. Although at the same time when we asked a group who really were dedicated to this task of filmmaking, like 45 minutes, it was done perfectly, and we were able to accomplish that and to submit that as a very powerful presentation in the In Vivo conference. So it all lies on the performance of the whole team and not just part of it that's spearheading all the work on its own, it will never get accomplished this way. So we really urge you that whoever really is interested to get in this path of the research, first thing, commitment to the deadlines is very, very, very important, and at the same time, the quality represented is very necessary, so that we can really articulate something that can be published. So from that standpoint, today we are going to also delegate tasks so that we can submit to the in vivo conference as a team. And we really care about doing this because it really fosters this spirit as a group working together, and it brings again more energy to the space of the MRN, and in particular for each and every individual participating. And at the same time, as a group who are still new to the MRN space, we need your full potential with us, because this month we intended to keep our monthly meeting shifted to the end of the month so that we can give you enough time to accelerate with your own pace regarding the personal stuff, and at the same time try to catch up with the recordings so that you can enjoy listening while at your leisure. But unfortunately, and let me tell you this with a frank tone, that we received only one feedback form as someone who just completed 2 of the workshops and not even the 3 of them. So this is truly like we felt like we want dedicated people with us, and this will be showcased when those dedicated people are running with the same pace of the MRN program, because we have a program and we know our guided objectives, and we have a vision, and there are many collaborators. Not just one collaborator in the field of planetary health, there are many. And as you saw last month in August, when we posted the calendar of August, we also suggested this working group of microbes and social equity group of Lab Sue Isaac. And so they are also running in a multidisciplinary fashion, just like the MRN. And so there are other collaborators who are doing similar work, but from a different perspective. We as Africa-based, we need really to engage more in writing and in making our visibility in this scientific world. So this is also to stress on the fact that submissions and publications are not an easy task at all. Ask me and Yusuf how many major revisions we received in those 2 or 3 publications we recently published. And the major revision means that you are really in a stressful situation, that within 10 days you have to completely revise all the references and add to them, and also adjust the references, the list of the references accordingly. And so it's such a hectic work that means that we need to dedicate time and energy in it, not just by the willpower, but just by our free time to invest in this. So I shall stop here, and maybe Yusuf, you can take over and mention something about the tasks and why we are really focusing on the issue of climate change and food solutions. So back to you, Yusuf.
All right, thank you so much for that insight, Doctor. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. So why we are, I would like to mention the main reason why we are focusing on climate change and food security. If you take a look at all these in all these issues presently facing us today, they are actually interconnected. So these issues are interconnected, which are brought about by the era called Anthropocene. Yes, there are wicked problems of the Anthropocene. So you can't address one without addressing the other. For instance, if you are trying to address the issue of food security without tackling the issue of climate change, then it's like you are not doing anything, because these issues are interconnected and you need to address them together. You need to address them holistically. And this is our main goal here at ACOFI. So we are adopting a holistic approach to this problem, which is why you see us writing paper on zoonosis, writing paper on food threats, climate change. All these problems are interconnected planetary health problems. So they are related. So, and I'm very sure that if we continue adopting this holistic approach to addressing this problem, then we'll definitely have a productive output and a meaningful contribution to addressing the issues of interconnected problems from Africa. So that will be, I think that will be all for now.
Thank you so much, Yusuf. You just highlighted the importance of this connection between climate change and food solutions, because we believe that Africa suffer both, Yani. And at the same time, food solution, in some parts we find poverty and deprived from food, and in other urban cities in Africa, the opposite, food waste and also ultra-processed food in massive amount. So the whole food system, we want to tackle that, and at the same time we want to offer innovative solutions for climate change. And so we need all your attention here with us, because this task will be like an individual task. We request that within 2 weeks, each one can contribute to a 300-word text that can reflect his own mindset and ideology about this issue. And so when we collect all those texts, we will amalgamate them into one big text that can be submitted to the in vivo as 300 condensed with the main ideas and maybe even recommendations. And so the process will run something similar to last year traditional medicine call to action, but maybe the traditional medicine, it took us something like 2 sessions or 3 sessions discussing on the topic and building the foundation. But here we can build the foundation in the journal club. We need to collect as much resources as we can, and also the authorship issue and the contributors will be according to the commitment to the submission of this piece, 300 words, and so we can gain the momentum in trying to build a full script of the whole topic. So because the submission of in vivo will end in October 14th, so today is like 22. Maybe by the 1st of October, we need your submission. We need those 300 words, and it's not difficult at all. So I also discussed with Yusuf this time frame, and he told me even he gives to his mentors something like a few days. So I would like to hear your feedback on this regarding the topic, regarding your ability to commit to this task. And so this will bring you to the opportunity to make a short film with me, so that we can also submit as a team. And at the same time, we will distribute now a feedback form so that you can give your feedback in response to the lecture of today, and also if you have anything else to discuss with us. So I will share the feedback form on the chat, and let me know if you have any ideas now to share. Maybe also, Yusuf, you can stop sharing your screen so we can now have an open discussion with our members.
I'll come in again just because there's a bit of silence, but if anyone would like to respond to the question that Mona just posed, please feel free and you can still come in. I just want to speak on behalf of COFI leadership and also the MRN space, the research that we are trying to do, that we are really committed to helping you to get publications, whether it's your first one or your 100th one. What we feel is that a spirit of connectedness and shared values can really make the publication stronger and transformative to shine through a sense of hope and optimism. And so we just want you to feel free to reach out if you have questions. It was really a great overview that Yusuf gave today, but in education, in academia, in our lives, we're in different places. So some of us might have been through this several times, or even have a supportive structure within your country, your education, whether it's a university or whatever level you are. But ultimately, what we're trying to build is this community that is supportive and is able to tailor this information to your needs and find out how we can support you. So I think it's a great internal opportunity to have this deadline for the in vivo abstract now a little over 3 weeks away. And I think that's the pathway laid out and the topic is great. And if you are interested in seeing the outputs that was there last year for the in vivo conference, those recordings should be available. I posted in the chat also about 3 important upcoming opportunities. The first one is just a little over a month away, the Planetary Health Annual Meeting that Vanessa referenced. We will have much more to share about that because we have some exciting opportunities as a COFI members and with our other work as well. So we really request and invite you to connect there, because this supportive community can also be referenced externally, that there are many great people doing amazing work around the world. So whenever you connect with them in these spaces, it's a really nice opportunity to grow yourself and to solve the problems that we are all well aware of. Then the other one to mention is the COP27 that will be hosted by Egypt. So somehow it's a proud moment for Africa to rise up and to come together and to show the rest of the world the solutions and all of the great things that are happening on the grounds that Africa has to share with the rest of the world. So there will also be more to come about what our plans to engage in that space are, but really just want to appreciate all of you taking the time to continue connecting with us and encourage and even challenge all of us in the coming months to remain connected, bring new people into this space so that we can really transform and heal what is both internal within ourselves and external for the planet we share.
Thank you so much.
See you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nathan. That's very nice. And lastly, if we can have just like a 1 minute from each and every one here to reflect like a learning moment from the presentation that has been shared by Yusuf, something that you have learned, something that was new, something that really refreshed your knowledge. So anything that you can share would be really valuable. For me, for example, the types of articles was really refreshing, and it was such a beautiful reminder of this frame, how we can write in different forms. So maybe Vanessa, you can mention your learning moment for today.
Yeah, by the way, it was the same as you. You know, it's always good to see it organized, like, because we get in contact with very different kinds of articles, but you know, it's very nice to didactically in a learning way to see it organized. And yeah, yeah, so this was the best part, but I also liked it that you know, from the beginning to the end of the process, very short and organized. So yes, and about working together and spending time. Well, I am in all of you know, I don't know if everybody, I am in a very hard time to defend my thesis in like 2, 3 or 4 months, I don't know. But I am in it. I have a lot of things about this subject, so I will contribute. I will put today still some reference to move you, and I intend to send like a short, the 300 thing, and you know, to keep up with this lovely work that we're doing together. So I pass the word. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. And don't worry, we are not overburdening anyone here. It is just like we are trying to bounce forward together, you know, because it's really important that we, each and every one of us, push the other so that we can accomplish more as a group. So I really wish you all the best in your thesis and everything that you do, Vanessa. And maybe we can hear from Joe about your learning moment today.
Thank you, Dr. Muna, and it was a great learning opportunity for me again as I go to my academic sojourn. I think this will continue to build my experience and continue to bring me to be more developed as I go through my professional development. Actually, it was exciting, it was good. I was able to learn a lot, and I think I can put that into practice in subsequent time. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Joe, and thank you for your support and encouragement, and also for your commitment as a member who joined MRN since its very beginning. So we are really proud of having you with us. You are such a positive energy. Thank you, Joe. Maybe Johannes, I can see your name in line. So if you're ready to share with us some of your learning moments.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the chance. Really, it is very nice presentation, which was presented by Yusuf. As the beginner researcher, I think all the components are very nice and interesting. So it will make me very useful, and it might help me in my future career. And thank you. I would like to say thank you, Yusuf, and all of you also.
Thank you so much, Johannes. Thank you so much. Habiballah, you can share your learning moments now.
Okay, thank you so much for the session. That's a well organized, well articulated, and insightful session. It's a lot of knowledge was shared and refreshed as well. So a lot, I actually like gain a lot, at least when the parts that I asked the question on abstract, which is always very not clear. So it's actually it actually shed more light on that and many aspects as well, especially time management that I mentioned, how to go about research life and balance personal life as well. So it's worth it and it's well done to the team entirely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Habiballah, and thank you for your triggering article on the Journal Club that really had stimulated all these ideas of, forming like a new project out of that. So, Nightingale, can we hear now from you as a share of a coffee or as as a member in the MRN? So whatever you may come up with, we are very excited to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Mona, for the invite. And Yusuf, thank you very much for this very enriching presentation. It's all around, just like others have said, it's been just very refreshing. And even the smaller things that may seem like the timing of when you write and how you go about, you do all the writing, you're exhausted. So putting it aside and letting it rest for a little bit and going back to it speaks to me so loud and clear. So just thank you very much to Yusuf and the MRN team for putting this together, and really excited to see where we go, and even the discussions on the journaling page. It's also very exciting. So just really briefly on the coffee general mention, like Nathan said, with COP27 being in Egypt, which is where Mona is stationed, we're very excited to see and really hoping that we can have some representation at the COP gathering. We may not, because it's a pretty complicated place to go to, but we are actively trying to see if we're able to also send maybe a person or two or three to that gathering, just to hear what takes place and bring back the message and represent us. And so we will see how that goes. We'll hear from Mona any updates as well, if there will be any. But thank you so much in a nutshell for today.
Thank you so much, Nightingale. First of all, for bringing us all here, you and Nathan, by forming this beautiful gathering, and also by initiating this journal club that we try to use so that we can build it up as a resourceful repository for the MRN at the end. So thank you so much for all your efforts, Nathan and Nightingale. And regarding the COP27, actually, I guess that Professor Tamari, she is an MRN member, and she probably will join the event. And maybe even Rotendo, maybe, because she told me that she will be in Egypt soon. So I wonder if we can just like post anything on the main Akufi or the MRN to know who is going to join the COP27. So I guess that some members are going to be there. So thank you for that, Nightingale. And because of the time, I shall listen to the insights of Percival. Thank you for joining, Percival, and thank you for your feedback forms. And regarding today, I don't know how much did you catch of this meeting, but we can also hear your insights before we end up this meeting.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Mona. Good evening from Ghana. I actually missed most of the presentation, but I guess I came in when the questions and answers the discussions were going on, and I had portions on why we were focusing on climate change and nutrition security, and I have interest in that. So I think that I'm going to be careful to review the recordings. It's on YouTube, I'm aware. So I'll review it, and then I'm sure I'll give better feedback on the feedback form thereafter. Thank you all so much for the effort you put in, make this meeting worth the while. I really appreciate the time and the effort that goes into it. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Percival, and it's really mutual. The benefit is mutual for us and for everyone joining today. So thank you so much for your time. And lastly, we will hear from Francoise and Nathan, if you would like to end with a closing thought on this meeting. So Francoise, I hope you can hear us now. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, what do I have to say? I think it was really worth it. It's an interesting meeting. I've really been having problem with paraphrasing, and listening to this presentation, I think I've gotten some tips that will help me. So in fact, sometimes when we do little actions, we don't know how deep it really impacts other people. So I can only encourage us to keep doing it, no matter how it goes, but it is touching somebody, and it is creating some great impact somewhere. So thank you all for the meeting this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francoise, for these positive vibes and for your kind words and support. And together we are going to achieve a lot in that space, I'm sure. So back to you, Nathan, and also Yusuf, if you have anything to add. So it's up to you now, and maybe one of you can end this call. So, okay, I will leave it to you.
I'll jump to the second to last position, if it's okay with you, Yusuf, and then you can close. So just in brief, a few more thoughts about the upcoming events and where we stand as an Akofi community. So on October 31st, we will have 2 side events as part of the official Planetary Health annual meeting. One will be about Africa United for Planetary Health. And so I hope that you all feel strongly called to that title. Our goal will be to really showcase all of the great work that is happening in Africa, and to have as many people and organizations and places represented. And so just an invitation or challenge that even if you can bring a few of your friends to that gathering, it should be a very rich and impactful gathering for those of us who are interested in planetary health and who really believe that Africa is ready to lead the way in the planetary health space. A few hours later, also on October 31st, it will be a session about place-based, child and community-centered planetary health. And with that one, just wanting to make the tie between the places and homes and communities that we are closely tied to, and that our family and friends and colleagues really understand and generally are more connected to. And for us as planetary advocates and people who can even conceptualize about what planetary consciousness or planetary citizenship, what that looks like for us to really showcase that and translate that so that we can really strike that harmonious balance between local and global, present and future, human and non-human, with equity and justice for all. Then about what's happening in Akofi, we have an executive team meeting that's we're likely to hold in 2 days, where we will discuss in more detail about things like COP27. But tentatively, we will plan to share more both in MRN and the overall Akofi page. I think it's maybe a good idea to have a dedicated space, like a new WhatsApp group, most likely, to connect people like Rutendo, Dr. Esho, that's Mona said they will most likely be connected to COP, and the Egyptian team that will be on the ground, the flurry of activities and all the interesting things happening around COP. So there are a lot of opportunities, and essentially we can say more to come in that space, and also looking to have a website for Akofi in the near future so that we have a accessible and exciting repository for who we are, what we're doing, and where we're going together. So on to you, Yusuf, and look forward to more to come.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for your comment regarding the presentation. So I'm glad that we are able to learn 1 or 2 things from the presentation, and that really gladdens my heart. So together we can change the narrative from poor research output in Africa to a substantial research output. And how can we change the narrative? Is through collaborations, is through joining hands together to address these issues. So, and I believe we can do it together. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending this meeting. And I look forward to more insightful meetings to come. So thank you once again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.